As a teenager, George Michael pined for pop stardom and had formed a duo with school friend Andrew Ridgeley, named Wham. The pair soon had a record contract, but found themselves attached to a small label in less than favorable circumstances. Their first release, Wham Rap, scraped into the top 50.
They weren't an instant #1 with their first record, and they benefited from a very, very unusual situation, which was that someone dropped out of Top of the Pops.
I was obsessed with Top of the Pops. I remember sitting talking to someone in a classroom when I was about 8 and asking them what Top of the Pops looked like in colour, because they had a colour TV and we didn't have a colour TV yet.
Once they got to do the Wham thing on national TV, then whoosh, away we go.
It's my first Top of the Pops, and it's their first Top of the Pops. Wham! Piece of gum.
I remember getting there and thinking, my God, it's tiny. Because actually it looked so big on TV, but actually it was 4 stages directly opposite each other at the time, in a tiny room, so that crowd could look like a big crowd and just keep shuffling backwards and forwards in that small space.
Well, I haven't seen you fits around town a while.
This is it. This is what we've waited for all this time, because even by then, it was, I don't know, 11 years of dreaming, even though I was only 18. And, yeah, what a fantastic thing to, you know, especially with your best friends, to achieve your dream, you know, as a teenager. I used to walk up and down Oxford Street hoping people would recognise me, which seems so laughable now, because now I've mastered the art of walking really fast in a baseball cap with my head down like that.
Even though their second single, Young Guns, climbed to #3 in the UK charts, Wham were virtually penniless due to their hastily signed contract that offered them little in the way of royalties. So armed with a new manager, Simon Napier Bell, they decided to take the matter to court. Successfully contesting the terms of the contract, they won their release from Intervision and signed to Epic Records. With their legal wrangling over, Wham could set their sights on more chart success. Every release saw the duo climbing higher in the charts, and Wham mania hit both sides of the Atlantic, when Wake Me Up Before You Go-Go became their first US #1.
It wasn't till Go-Go that it all kind of exploded. But I remember thinking, oh, it's going to happen soon anyway. You know, it will happen soon. There was no reason to think it wouldn't. Everything was successful that came out of England at the time, and I thought we were better than most of what was coming out. So as far as I was concerned, it was just a matter of time, you know.
The group's heartthrob image and infectious sound were a winning combination.
Who was not a fan of Wham? I mean, that was really a group that took the U.S. by storm, and of course took the U.K. by storm, but how could you not love Wham?
George was the musical mind behind Wham, writing and singing virtually all the pair's hits. But what of his partner, Andrew Ridgeley?
Where Andrew has always been underrated was the support that he gave George, the confidence he gave George more than anything else.
You know, Andrew thought of outfits and clothes and things like that, and the whole part of the look, and you know, so yeah, he contributed.
You know, the Choose Life T-shirts and the big white T-shirt with letters, you know, they definitely stood out.
Just because he's not the best guitar player in the world, you know, just, you know.
We almost morphed into one person in some ways in our late teens. We had exactly the same sense of humour, we had our own kind of language, and it was all part of what was keeping me inspired to write songs with that kind of energy to them. It was, our relationship was very much part of that, and there's no question that the fact that women loved him obviously helped the group a great deal, you know.
Professional accolades were flooding in for George. He became the youngest recipient of the Ivor Novello Award for songwriting. But as a duo, Wham still wanted to become the biggest band in the world, and their manager had a master plan.
Wham Go to China, great piece of 1980s marketing.
It was ramped up by Simon Napier Bell as the ultimate publicity stunt, something destined to take them out of Britain, or from Britain, and make them an internationally known band overnight, and it's exactly the effect it had.
People were suddenly, if you didn't know who Wham was before, you knew after that, absolutely.
It was so amazing to go then. It was 1985, so they were the first band ever to be allowed in. And literally, they'd only allowed music in a year before that.
they wouldn't let people clap or dance or do anything at the concerts. People were dragged out of the concerts for dancing.
I've never played Wake Me Up Before You Go, and I could hear a pin drop. It was very, very quiet. It was me and you could have a conversation that we're having right now, and it was the weirdest feeling, because I remember, we're trying to get into it, and everybody's jumping around, and I'm going, my, this is awful quiet.
After I realised that it was all kind of a bit of a pretense, I stopped meeting with the dignitaries and stuff, because the first week we were shaking hands with, various people from the government, but I stopped all that once I realised that we were actually, it was a bit of a sham, and politically we were still there in a very strange circumstance. But no, fascinating, and I'd love to go back and see what it's like now, actually. It would be really interesting.
On paper, everything looked bright. Wham had a string of #1 hits under their belt on both sides of the Atlantic. Wham had made George Michael one of the most recognizable faces on the planet. But was that really what he wanted?